Thank you all again for letting Head Down come tonight and present. I think they had some really good information and what they've captured, and they have great energy and experience that they're bringing to this. And as Mr. Crozier knows, Mr. Down is also working with them, so we're excited. Want to update you guys on several things, namely first, budget. Preparations are well underway. Meetings have been held with all department heads, with myself and the head of finance and administration, as well as with schools and the library system. The city administration plans to deliver the proposed FY22 budget to City Council on April 20th. So that would be a special called meeting. The rationale with that is we kind of have a full agenda this month with both of our meetings with presentations and financial information that will be presented next week from staff as well as our municipal advisors that thought it would be best not to commingle everything. So again, on April 20th, special called meeting for presentation of the budget where you all will get your copies. We are hoping that you will accept electronic copies again this year because paper is not cheap.
What time did you say that meeting was?
It'll be 6:30 because we may be targeting a special joint meeting with another governing body at 6. For a special meeting? That's a Tuesday at...
The 20th.
Yes, sir. With regards to economic development, the EDC has now received a finalized business plan from Timmons and Hunton. The next steps are actually furthering site development with some actual performance measures and outcomes that have been provided, development of a marketing program, website revamp, and FAM tours, which are familiarity tours, getting folks from BEDP and other economic development entities within the state, like VITA and all those things, to come out here and get some good kind of windshield tours of the Highlands and let them see what we have going on. All of these items have been approved by the EDC board, and they are funded in part with plans of this current year's budget as well as part of next year's budget. The IDA meetings, I'm actually working right now to schedule a meeting for later this month regarding city and county action items. Part of that is going to focus on the goal of financing and land transfer for a pad-ready site to occur late spring, early summer, as well as some other initiatives that the city and county both have in play relating to economic development. The Historic Main Street Revitalization Planning Grant, for anyone that somehow missed it. Again, we're going to have Head Down here for a community summit on April 29th at 4 p.m. and that will be at Covington High School. The Jackson Street Grant, the Community Improvement Grant application is underway, and this is an effort to obtain the construction dollars based on our completed planning grants. So it is progressing. It is a slow process, but we are getting there. And Rayon Bridge. To date, we have not received any feedback, either Timmons or the city, on our application. I did send an email today to VDOT folks asking for any updates or feedback that could be shared. I would make one recommendation to you all as council, given the monies that are coming into play from the federal and state government regarding infrastructure and the renewed investment in infrastructure with the American Rescue Plan and other supporting measures. I recommend to council that we work on getting regional resolutions of support asking to prioritize this replacement due to its impact on the region. And I would also recommend asking for safety enhancements and safety studies to Route 220 running through the city, given the uptick in traffic accidents involving serious as well as fatal injuries at times, and just the impact that that has on the Allegheny County, the city, and Bath County, because that is a major thoroughfare corridor for commercial and personal vehicle traffic. Recycling.
Oh.
Yay! I got a solution. Well, a trial one at least. City administration, along with the mayor and vice mayor, met with RDS, which is Recycling Disposal Solutions, to discuss a more cost-effective and potentially permanent solution to our recycling woes. Having one central location and using a hopper, which is essentially like a compactor, like how they used to have those old school trash compactors, to allow for more tonnage in the bin, reducing hauls, and locating it where city forces can monitor more easily any overflow or need for compaction. So essentially it would be an 8-ton recycling bin that has a compactor on it where you actually put your recyclables in on top. And city staff would go by periodically and compact it. You hit the button, it's a lockbox, hit the button, walk away when it's done, lock it back up, and then we would be moving to less frequent hauls. They are extending the offer for a trial program for 3 months of using the bins and all of that to figure the bin to see the logistics working for us. And as I mentioned, we would be doing one site, and the idea is where it's centrally located for city staff to manage it, and kind of out of sight, out of mind is one of the things that we've had with some of it being near residential areas or recreational areas. We will be putting it at the Nettleton property, and that is a zoned industrial area, so we will be working to roll that out, and hopefully in the next 45 days, give or take. We're working with, we have to get power and other things at that site. Right now, we still have one bin at Casey Field and one bin at Edgemont, along with dumpsters at each site for overflow, and we are checking those for overflow. Any questions on the recycling? Yes, sir.
What's the difference in the price level?
We would spend the same amount of money that we have allocated in the budget right now. What it would do is keep us within budget, because right now we have exceeded our recycling budget because the number of hauls we were having to perform because of the bins overflowing. I cannot remember the exact cost per haul off the top of my head. It is similar to what we pay now per haul. Mayor, Vice Mayor?
I don't remember the cost.
Thank you. I'm glad it's not just me becoming, senile.
Well, I thought it was going to be about the same price as we're paying now per haul.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, about the same price per haul. I mean, give or take maybe $100, $200. And not cost absorbent. The bin rental itself does cost a little more, but we would be breaking more than even, hopefully. That's why we're going to do a trial, right? We're going to do a trial period for 3 months to see, does it meet our needs, and if not, then we're just going to have a different discussion. Because if this doesn't work with a compactor and having 8-ton capacity, then, obviously recycling may just not be working for us. Mr. Hunter, did that answer your question? Okay.
Or
Councilman Carson? I didn't mean to point that on the teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
My question is, what we're going to be doing now with that compactor, where we were hauling, like, and just use example of 5,000 pounds of cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
But with the compactor, we could haul possibly 15 in the same one haul, right?
Yes, we're ending up with a lot of empty space in these bins. Like, they get full, but because people aren't fully breaking down everything, we end up with a lot of empty space. The bin's full, but it's not at its weight capacity or anything like that.
Right. We use the compactor over at the grocery store, and it's unbelievable the amount of cardboard and stuff you can compress into a brick.
So we're optimistic. Yes, Councilman
is it the
Hunter.
same as now, plastic and cardboard?
It would be the exact same materials, so no glass, no styrofoam. So, your cardboards, your paper, your plastics, your metals.
Thank you.
And moving on with joint service efforts, continued discussions occur on school consolidation logistics. Next big item that I want to bring to y'all's attention, and I've loosely discussed this with the mayor, and we're going to try to work on some stuff with the committee, is really trying to come up with a funding formula of making sure that, once you meet the state mandated minimum, how do we make sure that, we're staying within our means, but also not shortchanging students or ending up where one locality passes a budget that we can't match. So coming up with some kind of middle of the road funding formula for that. I do think that is important, so I wanted to mention that to you all. And I have talked to Mr. Arrett about that, who's on the school board, as well as the mayor and Mr. Garten, who is chair of the board of supervisors. Also, pleased to report that the inmate housing group met. That was actually on Friday. Our next meeting is slated for May 5th to further discussions on just how can we better manage inmate housing and what kind of alternatives that is, whether it's enhancing pre-trial options of, home confinement, alternatives to incarceration, or other things to how do we manage overcrowding and just the costs. The housing cost ask for, there you go, it might take care of some of the issues there. Just so you all know, the housing cost in the ask that has been submitted to the city and county has increased for FY22. So both city and county budget staff are discussing that. And on our end of the city, we'll be reaching out to the sheriff's office to see if we can all have a meeting and kind of just have a discussion on how to maybe manage those dollars for right now for the budget planning, given the fiscal constraint of COVID.
Are we going to get back to a point, talking about this, to get back to that joint committee again? I know we were meeting pretty good, and all of a sudden COVID hit, and we had staff working on it. Are we ever going to get to that point again? I thought they were beneficial, just to, nothing else, just to get us at the table.
I agree that they're beneficial. I will say at this current time, there's a lot of moving parts. So we may want to sit down and first try to tackle the inmate housing piece, because that by far is the largest, consumer or driver of the sheriff's budget, and it's partly a piece that is very hard to kind of predict and control. So I think that maybe having, these subgroup discussions, not constructions, discussions, is beneficial. So last Friday, when we met, it was folks like the Commonwealth's attorney, your executive director of the CSB, folks from pretrial, folks from probation, folks from the sheriff's office and, jail, all of that, and myself and the county administrator, really trying to have those discussions of how can we look at the cost control or just other options to also, resolve the revolving door. That's a good question.
Well, not just with that topic, but I mean, and we were talking about other things besides the jail when we were meeting. And I thought we were getting somewhere, if nothing else, just to get us all on one regional.
Yeah, some things came out of that where our finance director and their finance
Yes, they
director,
meet quarterly.
They meet, they're looking at costs.
There's a special fund.
There's a special fund set up. They're no longer just able to go into the budget. They have their own special line item, and they've got to stay in that line item or come and ask for more. So there were several productive things that came out of that.
As things change, as things progress, I just want to make sure that us and the county continue to understand that we have to work together.
Absolutely.
That no matter what changes come down the line, that we still have to maintain. We've come a long way today. We have.
We have become very regionalism centered, and very much realizing that we all have to row together to get anywhere. So I fully agree, and I will say that one of the other productive pieces that we've had some discussions on too is, the jail authority component and what that can mean for localities as well as for the sheriff's office. So there is a variety of options. I would say that probably right now, from a budgetary perspective, the inmate housing piece, and my recommendation to you all would be a good focus area for right now, because we made a lot of headway with the special fund, the quarterly financial meetings, and just the communications protocols that now occur with budgetary matters, whether it's from the sheriff's office directly and then the county and the city. I think that this would be the next big bear, in my opinion.
And somewhere down the line, within the next probably year and a half, and I know this will lay off, but we've got an opportunity to work with landfill, waste disposal with the county. I mean, I think we're both going to be in an optimal position to start talking that jointly, and that's where I'm thinking things like this. And I know we can't do it now, but
I had that meeting last Thursday to discuss resource authority discussions with members from the Western Virginia Resource Authority, with all of the area's administrators. So Mr. Unruh, Mr. Lanford, myself, we all went and met and got a really nice handout if you want one. Happy to prime the discussion. And I've also met with Mr. Harrison, sorry, I couldn't think of his last name, from Bath County, with regards to making sure that they would be interested in potentially exploring continuing piggybacking with any kind of refuse solution that we all come together with here. So we've also had that meeting, Mr. Lanford and Mr. Harrison and myself. So we're on it.
Okay.
Thanks for the pressure, boss.
That's right.
All right, and then just lastly, I do want to remind everyone that there is a COVID spike in the area, and again, while we have vaccines available, it's still important to remember the basics of the social distancing and hand washing and open spaces and all of that. Just that we've all made a lot of progress in this pandemic, and not to let up, so we can have a good summer. Nobody wants to have a summer or a season like we did last year, so I like getting my hair done and my nails done, so it's kind of, let's keep this thing in check. And that's it. Anything else? And I know most of y'all have all been vaccinated, as have I, so.